Welcome. How are you today? I hope you're great. Today's topic, it's a really interesting one. It's childhood experiences creating a classroom at home. And you may be thinking, what kind of topic is this? Creating a classroom at home? What is this? Homeschooling? Well, maybe it's not homeschooling in the conventional sense of the word, but after our discussion, you'll see exactly how you can actually create a classroom at home, and probably you're already doing that with your children or with the ones that you're taking care of if you're a guardian. Welcome to this podcast, Dynamic Parent and Teacher Training with educational psychologist Alec Delancey. This podcast is dedicated to promoting positive performance in children through simple behavior modification. So let's get right into it. Exactly what does it mean to create this classroom at home? Well, I want you to think about these three areas: authoritarian parenting style, permissive parenting style, and the authoritative parenting style. Now, we live in a society where children are growing up in various homes, and sometimes I talk to parents and they say to me, you know what, I really didn't think about it. I really didn't think about what kind of environment I'm creating for my child or for my children or for the kids that I'm taking care of, my nieces or nephews. And that's understandable because a number of times persons fail to really look at what kind of environment because of distractions. We tell ourselves we have our children there and we are doing the very best that we can. And some of us, we are really doing the very best that we can. So we are taking care of the family, we're providing economically for the family, the child or children, they're getting what they want, they have access to food, they have access to clothing, and we actually paying the rent for them to stay under this roof, or we have built a house and we're paying back a mortgage, as the case may be. So we are providing for them. But the thing is, it does not just simply stay there and that's all. The kind of environment that we are creating for our children, that environment, to a significant degree, it shapes or contributes to shaping their personality. Now, a parent may say to themselves, well, how come? I mean, if I tell a child this is how you ought to behave, then fine, the child behaves that way because I tell the child this is how you ought to behave. But we must not forget but take into consideration that children, you may tell them what to do and they may do it. But children also learn by social learning, so they learn based on observations. And my action or my doings, children could actually imitate that. So I may be saying one thing, but my action is something else. So take, for example, the area of authoritarian parenting style. Now, in an authoritarian home, it is basically do as I say, get it done. This is what I want you to do. Don't ask any questions. I'm just going to make up the rules as we go along. Or sometimes the rules may be fixed and it's not flexible. So in this house, you get up at this time. It doesn't matter if you're sick. You get these chores done. When I was your age, I used to get it done. So that means you could also get it done too. And you have it so easy. When I was small when I was younger, I had to do X, Y, Z. Now you don't have to do half of that. You're lazy and you need to. So you're getting the idea that in an authoritarian household, it's not based on a discussion. It's not based on, let me hear what you have to say. A matter of fact, a parent or a guardian who is in charge of an authoritarian home sees discussions or interacting with a child as being weak. We don't discuss with children. That's a general or pervasive view that those in the authoritarian family will have. So we don't discuss anything with children. This is how we do things here. A matter of fact, they may even cite instances when it worked. What you find in these homes is that a child may do what they are told, not because of genuine understanding, but based on fear. So if a child is fearful of punishment, then they will do as they are told. In many instances, of course, there's a side effect of this kind of parenting style. And instead of simply just following instructions, as they continue to grow, they may start rebelling. The rebellion that is seen sometimes is so great or so extreme that it is very difficult for the child to revert or to go back to a time when they probably were more open to discussions or open to agreements. And in a number of cases, if the child grew up in that authoritarian household, then they didn't have that time when they were more likely to discuss things in an open forum. So there's nothing to go back to. That's what they know, and that's how they perform, and that's how they do things. Now, keeping in mind, if a child who is experiencing this kind of environment, in this kind of environment of authoritarian parenting environment that is created, as that child continues to grow, eventually, if that child has a family, that child will pass that same kind of parenting style on to them. Now, it doesn't mean that they are condemned to do that. They can make a change. They can do the total opposite to that. They could have a more effective, a more positive parenting style. But people generally do what they what they have learned, and in an environment where the rules are strict and there's little to no rewards, the punishments are very severe if there's a break or a breach in the code of conduct, or if that child involves themselves in either damaging some kind of property or probably even not doing their chores. There's some discipline that is attached to it, and the discipline is more of a scolding or a spanking instead of reasoning and talking things out. You find that when that child grows, he or she continues that same kind of behavior because it becomes a habit, and habits are difficult to break. It doesn't mean it cannot be broken, but habits are very much difficult. It takes a concerted effort on the part of the individual in adulthood, because remember, neurologically speaking, they have been wired a specific way when growing up in an authoritarian household. So that is why it's very important that parents take stock, be aware, educate themselves as to exactly what kind of environment that they are creating for their children. Another area that we want to talk about has to do with the permissive parenting environment. Now, this is another extreme because before we just spoke about the authoritarian, where it's the hard and the dictatorship kind of parenting style. But this one now, the permissive, it's pretty much a lax sort of parenting style. So the rules are very flexible. The discipline is not where it should be. So a child may be told today, no running in the house, else I will take away maybe one of your snack. So the child doesn't run in the house today. Tomorrow, the child runs in the house. And the parents say, hey, you know what? Little Johnny, just stop running. Now the child thinks about it. Wait a minute. Before I was told yesterday, don't run in the house, or the punishment or the discipline will be one of my snack will be taken away. But here it is, I ran today throughout the house, and one mommy or daddy or this person who is taking care of me just simply says, stop running the house. Therefore, there's a confusion that exists in the child's mind. But here what? The child also learns that there's no consistency where discipline is concerned. Now, this was just one example. Think about in various areas where the child now detects after growing up, growing rather, and engaging in various activities where on the one hand, the rule and the consequence in the house. A matter of fact, you know what? In a number of permissive households, there are little to no consequences at all. So you find that if there are no consequences, then the rules basically is neither here nor there with the parents or with the guardians. So it's more like a sort of you can do what you want. You want to come home late, it's okay with me. Or it may not be okay with me, but I feel powerless to tell you anything else because I have not put in place a specific structure to meet and treat with this behavior. So there's a lax or permissive way of dealing with things. You find that sometimes in a permissive household, the parents may view the child on the same level as they are. When I say the same level, I mean they will, if they're engaging in a discussion that becomes negative, there will be a sharp outburst on both ends, and the child is arguing, the parent is arguing, and then both of them just become so frustrated with each other that they may just leave each other, and the issue is never really dealt with in a meaningful way. So the both of them, parent and child, leaves believing that, okay, well, I could raise my voice, I can talk as loud as I want, I can do what I want in this house. The child may say, well, this room is mine. The parent may say, well, this house is mine. And there's no true structure or discipline with regards to how we behave, how we conduct ourselves, how we interact with adults. The thing with this permissive, as well as what we just spoke about, the authoritarian parenting style, is that it does not just stay within the home. This home that is a classroom of teaching and learning, it prepares the child for outside activities. So here it is, a child who is in a permissive or in an authoritarian household goes to a school and interacts with children who might be similar in similar households. That could be very chaotic. A teacher might give some rules, some instructions. It may be written. The consequences may be written as well on the board or somewhere where the child can see it. But if the child is in a permissive household, then that rule and that consequence, it means little to nothing to them, because I can do as I please. My mother, my father, or my grandmother, whoever I'm living with, does not tell me what to do. A matter of fact, I can come to school if I want. I cannot come to school. I can do my homework if I want. I cannot do my homework because I live in a permissive environment. And because this permissive environment might become so pervasive that that child may actually start feeling that they are in total control of a situation. And if they are not in control of a situation and it's not permissive for them, then they do not want to be a part of that environment. So a number of children might be actually failing in the education system because they are not from a structured home. And this structured home is not a rigid structure I'm talking about. The rigid structure is in the authoritarian household, where there's a rigid structure. Now, how this applies in the school system for children when they come from a rigid or a harsh, a non-loving, there's no warmth or feeling in that environment. The side effects, it's when they enter into the classroom environment, they bring that sort of behavior as well. Two things can happen. Well, probably more than two, but I'll talk about two here. One, they can become very harsh, devoid of certain emotions, fellow feeling. They can become bullies, or the reverse is they can become very fearful, timid, shy, because they were taught to be scared. They were taught not to speak up for themselves. They were taught to simply do as I say, follow my direction, follow this instruction. So a number of these kids too, who grew up in authoritarian households, they end up following other children who provide that sort of release or that freedom that they are looking for. Now, if they find a positive group, then that's all fine and well. But sometimes what happens is that children from authoritarian households, when they are not the aggressors but they are the followers, they might follow other children who are involved in negative behaviors. Now, the interesting thing is that you may think that if they are growing up in a harsh environment, that then they will seek to not align themselves with that same kind of harsh or that same kind of challenging personality types. But the thing is, that's what they know. So if they are offered more levels of freedom compared to what they are experiencing at home, but at the same time, there's still a level of harshness and there's still a level of you follow me and this is how we do things here, they will follow. Because at the end of the day, although that be the case, if they are following another child or another person who offers some level of freedom that is more so than what they're getting home, they will continue to be followers. Now, we have been talking about authoritarian and permissive family structures. What we say is that those two structures, they are not the ideal. Now, these two structures, keep in mind, they can exist in single parent homes, they could exist in homes where there are two parents, they could exist in homes where it's extended family. These could exist in whatever kind of family structures you have. The ideal is what we call the authoritative parenting style. Now, with the authoritative parenting style, there are uh, personality types that are formed that not just are able to be cooperative with others and to work well with others and to be optimistic and to actually be engaging and discussing, but these personality types that are created in these kinds of environments where there's warmth, support, structure, and love, forgiveness, and all these different qualities that are taught to them, they take this through their life. So you see what I'm saying? I'm saying that the structure of authoritative parenting style will actually help that child to not just exist within that bubble within the home, but they will actually utilize techniques, tips, strategies in other areas of their lives as they continue to grow. With the authoritative parenting style, what you find is that there are a number of rules, there are consequences, but the rules they are taught to the child. So the child knows exactly how they ought to behave, when they ought to display a specific behavior, and the consequences that can come as a result of displaying those behaviors. There are discussions in that home, in that authoritative home. There are discussions that the parent or the guardian will have with the child. The child has an opportunity to speak their mind in a very respectful way, of course, but they are able to give their viewpoints as to how they see things, how they would like to make changes, or what they think should be the discipline that should be meted out. So there's more discussion. Of course, at the end of the day, the parent or the adult is the one who will be responsible for taking charge or taking the lead. So it's not that the child is running the show here, but the child is contributing to a discussion, contributing to ideas, contributing to a smooth functioning of the home. The rewards for the child too in an authoritative parenting environment is very fixed. So the child knows that if I achieve such and such, this is what I will get. So they are not confused, they are not disappointed as a result of working towards a specific goal and not achieving the reward at the end that they were told they will get. So it's very structured. The reward is given to the child if they perform a specific task. If the child does not perform a specific task and the child needs to be corrected, it will be done in a spirit of love, kindness. The parent will sit the child down or probably take the child out for a walk and discuss with them and have a real talk about how they can improve. So there's feedback that is being offered in this kind of family structure. A lot of teaching goes on, a lot of talking, a lot of discussing, and it takes a while. It really takes a while for a child to learn certain things. There are particular behaviors that they will get right away. You can tell them, okay, you're going to clean your room now. When you get up, make sure you take care of your personal hygiene. Make sure that you get your clothes ready so that you can be out of the house. You can head to school. The child comes back home. You said, okay, well, this is the time where you will get something to eat. You will do your homework. And when the child gets something to eat and do their homework, you commend them. You probably give them a high five. Or you say, okay, well, the rewards, remember I told you if you did such and such, you can probably go and ride a bike now. Or maybe you can have your cell phone for an extra half an hour on the weekend if you perform all these various tasks and you complete it in a timely fashion. So there's a very warm, structured, loving environment that is created for that child. So that child grows knowing that when the child enters to in the school or goes to school, that child is able to transfer. There's a spillover also with the authoritative parenting style that is given or the child is experiencing. When that child goes off to school now, what happens is that child is placed in a position where they can also show this kind of love and patience with others, and show kindness, and have structure. So they know, okay, Miss says I need to finish this composition in 15 minutes, so I'm going to take 15 minutes to get it done. And they are able to receive adequate feedback from a teacher without feeling offended or without being fearful of the feedback that they get. They're able, or better able, to appreciate that kind of interaction with the teacher because it's very similar to what they are getting at home. So the authoritative parenting style, regardless of if it's a single parent or it's a two parent or it's a extended family arrangement, this style is the better style that should be used. Of course, it also has specific elements of authoritarian and permissive, but it's not a pervasive overarching qualities that you can find in the authoritative style. There are occasions when an authoritative person needs to be stern and say, okay, this isn't working. Let's see how we can change this. But even in that case, when they are stern, they want some feedback from the child, they engage the child in conversation. There are occasions too when a specific rule is broken and the parent may give some kind of leeway or probably not met out a specific punishment because of understanding the circumstances surrounding why the child may have engaged in a particular behavior or not achieve a specific task. So the punishment or the reward it becomes the parent is flexible where that is concerned because of understanding the extenuating circumstances as to why a specific task was not completed. So again, it's more a balanced parenting style, a balanced environment, this authoritative environment. It's balanced, it's loving, it's caring environment, it's a warm environment. It's really an ideal family environment that you can create for your children because there are specific things that you can do to help them, and when that is done, it's a spillover effect. They can use that information in various aspects of their life at present and also for the future. So I want to thank you very much for taking the time off and listening to this podcast. Again, the topic had to do with childhood experiences, creating a classroom at home. And I know that now that we are at the end, you are thinking of ways that you can actually improve in your parenting style so that you can help your child to be more effective a person, as well as have a more peaceful home environment in your family with your child, knowing full well that you are contributing to the next generation in helping your child to grow to become a successful individual in society. So again, I want to thank you very much for listening to this podcast, and all the best. Listen to the other podcasts too so that you can benefit from the information that being dispensed there. So all the best again, and take care. Music in this podcast, Zigzag and Exit the Premises, was brought to you by Kevin MacLeod of incompetech.com.